The room was already too warm when he slammed my head into the floor. You know the kind of heat I'm talking about: courtroom lights, humming air thick with perfume, and politics then smack marble on cheekbone, a chorus of gasps. I tasted dust, saw my own white blazer flash across the security monitor, and somewhere a man laughed under his breath, like this was just another Tuesday. The cop's name was Derek Vaughn. Big guy, wide stance eyes that said he never heard no in his life. He hissed in my ear, "Fake badges don't work here," I said very quietly, because quiet is how you set earthquakes. You just picked the wrong Tuesday. He reached for his pistol. I didn't blink. You learn that in oversight, flinching is a language you can't afford to speak. He cleared leather, the red dot trembled on my chest, and then muscle memory did what it's paid to do. Pivot heel, one clean snap. His gun clattered across the marble like a coin that chose tails on its own. The judge pounded his gavel, security froze mid-breath, and the scanner at the front pinged my credentials on the big screen. Avery Cole, Federal Internal Oversight. That's me. Not flashy, not famous. Just the woman who reads the files nobody wants found. People love to say it all started earlier, but no. Sometimes it starts right there in front of 100 cameras. We were in Hawthorne City, Old Federal Hall, packed house live feed rolling, while a committee debated whether officers with prior force complaints should keep their weapons. Imagine the irony: every badge polished, every tie centered, and the one man with the dirtiest file in the room tried to muzzle the witness by drawing down in public. My grandma used to say, if the lie gets fancy, the truth goes simple. So I went simple. I walked to the table, set down a red folder stamped "Do Not Circulate," and said into the mic, "We're done pretending not to see." First page, a woman named Lana Pierce, double amputee, restrained in a hospital bed. Video shows a sedative, two officers watching, one of them wearing a crooked grin. You don't forget. Vaughn. The official report said cardiac episode. The internal memo, buried under 3 layers of clearance, said protocol breach. The suspension letter existed, signature in everything, only someone blacked out the name so hard you could still see the outline in the ink. I tilted the page under the light. The room went quiet the way a storm does right before it flips your car. "Why haven't we seen this?" a senator asked, voice pinched, like the words were too hot to hold. "Because I said I sent it 9 months ago and you filed it under sensitive revisit later." When you say it plain, people stop blinking. I pulled up a list: 206 names, complaints, logged weapons still active. Then a map read transfer lines hopping county to county, like a flea circus reassignment after incidents, a reset button that never resets the harm. Someone in the back stood up, eyes glassy, said, "That Dot, he's the one who put my brother down." Nobody hushed him, nobody could. Then the phone started buzzing like summer cicadas. A leak broke open mid-session. Derek Vaughn, proud member of the Sentinel Order, an old boys club with a glossy flag and a rotten core, the sort of network that teaches you which buttons to press and which reports to reconsider. I didn't gasp, I just loaded an audio clip. A man's voice, steady as a tax form. "Erase his name, no trouble." Another voice, nervous. "If she keeps digging, we're finished." You don't need narration when the villains write their own. That's how the hearing became a funeral for excuses. By the end of the day, the Justice Department froze the state's DPS accounts, and the committee voted to prosecute Vaughn for crimes against the state collusion record, tampering, weaponizing authority against federal witnesses. My phone lit up that night with messages: "I never answer, hero icon witch, same energy, different sticker." I poured cereal for dinner, because that's what heroics look like after the camera trucks leave a chip bowl and a kitchen light that hums too loud. Vaughn's trial moved faster than anyone expected. I took the stand in a suit so white strangers were afraid to sit near me. The prosecutor asked what I felt when the pistol aimed at my chest. "Not a gun." I said, "A blade sharpened by years of paperwork." He smiled like that sounded poetic. "It wasn't. I was thinking about binders, how harm turns tidy once it goes 3-hole punched." Vaughn smirked through half the testimony. He said I had authorization, like the words would grow him a parachute. The defense tried to familiar him. "He's a product of the system," and for once I agreed. "Exactly," I said. "And if the machine makes a defective part, you don't let it roll off the line. You shut it down and ask who calibrated the metal." The day the masked witness came in, voice scrambled, face hidden behind a gray visor, The gallery leaned forward like a single body. We place men inside agencies, he said. Teach holds that don't bruise, teach paperwork that doesn't breathe. The big screen lit with files from Vaughn's hard drive, city grids marked in red neighborhoods, labeled high friction. I felt my jaw lock. You don't say genocide when lawyers are counting syllables, but my chest said it anyway. The verdict was the kind that arrives already written. Death sentence. People argued about the method online as if swapping needles for wires changes gravity. On paper, it's clean boxes, check signatures in ink, the color of dried cherries. In rooms, it isn't. I watch from the observation hall in Terry Dominion Penitentiary, thick glass, stale coffee, a clock that clicks like it's chewing something. Vaughn asked his last question, will they remember my name? And for once, nobody had a line ready. He went quiet in 34 seconds. The monitor did its flatline. A young officer gagged into his palm. We all stared at the door like justice might walk in late and ask who ordered what. If the story ended there, it would be tidy and useless. The week after we raised a small bronze figure outside the federal building, a woman without legs standing, no plaque, just a sentence carved into stone, I do not judge. I gather. People came without speeches, left without selfies. An old patrolman slid his cracked badge into the base seam and whispered, I'm sorry, as if the statue could file his apology where it belonged. I took unpaid leave after that. Didn't resign, just stepped out of the roster like a book pulled quietly from a shelf. I drove a rental with too many miles to front doors that hadn't opened in years. I returned copies of letters that never reached mailboxes. A father asked me, so I'm not crazy. I said nothing. I nodded. Sometimes that's the only ceremony grief recognizes, and then the call came. No name clip. Voice, Vaughn wasn't alone. There's another still wearing a badge. I reopened a folder I'd been trying not to memorize. Mitchell Crane, SWAT commander. 3 cardiac incidents that read like carbon copies. We served the warrant at his training complex, Sun High Field painted with chalk lines like a carnival for obedience. Crane smiled the way men smile when they think consequence is a rumor. You're late, he said. I cleaned it years ago. I set a USB on the table. Vaughn's voice recorded weeks earlier. If I go down, you go down. Crane's smile cracked like a windshield. Just a hairline. But once you see a hairline crack, you can't unsee it. The whole thing is already breaking. It just hasn't learned the sound yet. I won't dress the ending up for you. We didn't get fireworks, we got filings. We didn't get closure, we got calendars, hearings, subpoenas, more doors. Meanwhile, the city learned a new way to stand together. Not marches with slogans, not panels with pastries, just a quiet movement. Folks started calling the open eyes. Little wooden signs staked in yards, someone came to hear you. Kids posed with them like the signs were trophies. Maybe they were. People ask if I'm proud. Some days, yeah, I'm proud of the kick. Not because it looked good on camera, but because it landed exactly where it needed to. Mostly I'm proud of a different sound, the soft thud of a file hitting a public table, the hush that follows when the room recognizes a name it tried to forget. That hush is the first honest thing many rooms have done. So tell me, where do you stand on this line we keep drawing between one bad apple and the barrel? We keep pretending isn't leaking. If a man is built by a machine, is taking him apart justice or just maintenance? Drop your city, your story, your yes or no in the comments. Have you seen a report? Ghosted a complaint, reworded a truth delayed until it died on paper? Right or wrong, mercy or iron? Public or off-grid, say it out loud. We're done rehearsing.